Good evening, crafting friends. I'm Dorene Decibus from It Begins with Ink and Paper, and welcome to Funfold Friday. Thank you so much for being patient with me tonight as I was trying to, I'm trying to get everything ready for tonight and get going at a reasonable time. So I really do appreciate you giving me that little bit of extra time so I could make sure everything is ready. So let me just get things to make sure they're all set up. My space definitely looks like I have been working frantically, and I actually have. So I've got some cards still over here that I need to put away, my glue, all that good stuff. Okay, I think we're centered. I think we're good to go. Well, last week I told you that during the month of October, I'm probably going to use this month of October for Simply Stamping Sunday. Hi, Roz. Thanks for joining us tonight. And I just was looking at it all week and decided that, I wanted to make a fun fold with it first. So that's always the fun part about being a crafter. You can just work with what you want to work with. So tonight I'm going to be using the Beautiful Pumpkins set, the bundle. I'm also going to be using an embossing folder. You can use any embossing folder you want. This is just to make the background. Now, when I show you my card, the front is not quite done, but we will finish that up as we're going through the evening on the second card, and I'll make sure this one's finished too. I just was just not ready for tonight with my ideas, and I have kind of a funny way that I come up with card designs. I think about it in my head, and then once I have it in my head, I try to put it down on paper, and sometimes it doesn't work, or I need to add something or delete something, and that was what's going on this afternoon. So I apologize for that, but I'm so glad I'm here. I'm also using the Branching Out dies. This was a set of dies that I bought without the stamp set, which I don't usually do, but wait till I open this, you'll see why. Has these gorgeous, gorgeous frame dies. I just love them, and we're going to be using them tonight. It has some other dies that just cut some images out of cardstock. So this is, if you're going to buy a set of dies without a stamp set, this is definitely one to do it with, because there's nothing in here that cuts out anything in the stamp set. So it's a cool set of dies. All right, this is the card that we're going to be working on tonight. It's going to look a little different, but here's the front of it so far. I still need to put a greeting here. I need to add some ribbon, and I need to add some bling. But this is the front of the card, and then when we open it up, that is where our fun fold is. So I like to call this, you could call it a W fold, or an M fold. You get the M, you get the W, but this just highlights your designer series paper, and it highlights your stamps as well. So this is what we're working on. And for writing, I left one panel blank so that you could start some writing. You can sign your name right here, but there's room on the back of the card to do some writing. So let me set this aside, and we're going to get started. I'm going to start with doing some of the stamping first. So I have here a piece of basic beige paper. I was actually looking at the gathering together designer series paper, and I hadn't used these two designs yet. The stripes with the gold and the basic beige with some of the gold leafing on it. So I wanted to highlight those two pieces of designer series paper, and I wanted to then highlight the stamp set itself. Okay, so I really played around with trying to get the right colors for the pumpkin, and what I ended up deciding to use is peach pie and pumpkin pie. Now don't get hungry with all those pies we're talking about here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to need 4 small pumpkins, and I'm going to need one large pumpkin. So I'm going to start with my peach pie. It's the lighter of the two colors, and I'm going to stamp one large pumpkin. Right there. And I'm going to stamp 4 of the small pumpkins. So I'm just going to go right alongside. And I'll put one right here as well. Then what I'm going to need to do is add the highlights with the pumpkin pie ink. So I'll start with the smaller ones. These line up pretty well. You definitely want to use the opening here, right, the stamped image, and the opening at the top to line up the top of the pumpkin. It is going to give it that texture and some of that roundness that it needs that we see in a real pumpkin. And one more. I'll bring them up closer to the camera afterwards so that you can see them. And then we're going to take the large large pumpkin detailed stamp and do the same thing and line up where the stem is going to go. There we go. Let me show those to you, but let me close my ink bag first. So that's what our pumpkins look like once we've got it all nice and stamped. All right, so I need a couple other things on here. I'm going to need some early espresso ink for the tops of my pumpkins. So I have a large stem for the large pumpkin, and then I have a smaller stem for those smaller. Okay. So I'm going to use this paper to also make our greetings. So I'm just going to cut those out. Those need to be die cut, and you can probably see by my ink pads, I have already die cut all of this. So it is all set to go. I'll just set this aside and I'll die cut those later. If we look into the stamp set, which is right here, I can show you the dies that come with it. There are 10 dies. So we have some greenery here that can be just cut out, and I've cut some of that out. You can probably see it up here on the screen. It has some dies that will cut out a leaf, 2 of both stems and both pumpkins. And then we have some stems that we could cut out of paper, and it would also emboss it. So we have some really good dies that go along with this stamp set and bundle. Okay. Now, for our greeting, I want something that's going to fit across the top. And the other greeting in here says, "Thankful for the small things." Well, maybe we can use that. Let me get this mounted. So I think that will look nice across the front. I'm going to take both of the greetings, and let's see what I have. For a stamp, I don't want one of my really big ones, so I'll just take, I think that will fit across. Yes, it will. Now, this will be the first time I'm stamping this stamp. And so I'm going to just rub it. When you have a photopolymer stamp, I like to just rub it along on the paper just to get some of stuff that might be on it off. And I'm going to open up my olive green. And I'm going to ink that up with Old Olive ink. And I'm going to stamp it towards, oops, I want to make sure it is all inked up. So I'll stamp it towards the top. And then I'm going to stamp it one more time. There we go. And I'm going to use my paper cutter to cut it out. Now, Roz just mentioned in the comments that she loves the shape of the pumpkins because it lends itself nicely to the blues and greens and cream colors of pumpkins that are popular right now. And that is true. You know, that's the one thing I do like a lot about Stampin', is how you can just really make things the colors that you want them to be. So I'm just going to trim this. And I'm going to also cut the end and make it look like a banner. Perfect. So I'll just cut into one right now. And then once all of the stamping is done, we can just worry about putting the card together. So I'll set that aside as well. And I'll do the same with this one. Okay, that is all done. Now, oops, we have just a little bit more stamping to do. So let me show you what we need for cardstock for all of this today. So we need a piece of 4 1/4 by 11 inches of paper, of cardstock. We need it in this direction, the half sheet, so that we can have the length to make that. You are going to need a piece of basic beige that I ended up embossing, and this is 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. You're going to need 2 pieces of designer series paper, or you could put cardstock inside and emboss it, or whatever you'd like to use. I'm using designer series paper, and these measure just like the piece of basic beige. They measure 4 1/8 by 5 3/8. You're going to need 2 pieces of the cardstock. So here I have another piece of the green that I've die cut. So this is the beige with some of the gold on it. I'll bring it up a little closer so you can hopefully see it, and I hope you can see the gold that's in the green as well. And so 4 pieces that are obviously they're Old Olive, that measure 2 1/4 by 2 1/4. And then we have 4 pieces of basic beige that measure 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. And then finally we have our inside piece that we're going to actually be scoring in just a minute, and this measures 1 1/4 by 11. All right, so let's start putting this all together and doing our scoring. So I'm going to get my score tool out, my score pile, and I'm going to be putting this piece right up at the top. And I'm going to be putting 3 score marks on this. I'm going to be scoring at 2 3/4, so right there. I'm going to be scoring at 5 1/2, and I'm going to be scoring at 8 1/4. So it's actually 2 3/4 each way in. Okay, so that's ready to go. And then I'm going to take my piece of cardstock for the base, and this only needs to be scored at 5.5, like a regular card would. Okay, that is our scoring tonight. Again, I will put all of these measurements underneath in the comments on Facebook, and I will put them in the description on YouTube. Okay, so we do have a little more stamping to do. I forgot to grab those pieces out, but we'll do that afterwards. We just have a greeting to stamp on it. So I'm just going to fold this in half, and then we're going to just start putting this all together. So I'm going to start with the front, and I'm going to just get these pieces on. So I'm going to add a little adhesive. I just don't have enough room today. So this piece is going to be centered right on our piece that was embossed of what's actually embossed. So it really doesn't matter what embossing folder you use on this. And then I'm going to take this piece here and I'm going to center it right on. Just going to make sure my little leaves on here are going in the right direction. So we'll just add some adhesive to the back of this. And put it on the right way. I just love how they layer so nicely together. So that's what the front of our card looks like. And because this is embossed on the back, I am going to use liquid glue. I'm going to go back and forth between my liquid glue and my Stampin' Seal. So I'm going to make sure it gets a nice border on the outside edge so that it will stick down nicely. I know there's still a lot of glue in here, but it's getting to the end of its life, so it's fighting me to get out. Alright, so this is the front of the card pretty exactly, but by using the liquid glue, not only does it help it stay in place for the embossing part, but it allows us a little bit of wiggle room to make sure it goes exactly where we want it to be. Okay, let me just, there we go. And then I'm just going to press down those edges because that's really where I want it to lay flat, and then press down the rest. Okay, there we go. We'll decorate the front in just a minute. So on the inside, before we do anything with adding that piece, we're going to need to put in our designer series at 5 3/8, excuse me, by 4 1/8. So this is a card that can really show off your beautiful designer series paper. I will say that in the middle of the card it does get a little thick with those layers on the inside. So just, watch it when you go to mail it. You might have to add a little bit of extra postage. Hopefully not. My post office loves giving me having me pay extra postage. Okay, so now I am going to what I want you to think is these two panels, you want to have it be standing up. So I'm going to fold it in half, and then I am going to fold each end in the other direction and use my bone folder because we want it to go down like this so that this piece is going to stick up in the middle. So what I'm going to do on both ends, I'm going to add some liquid glue again. I just think this will hold it nicely, but also give me that wiggle room I need when I'm putting this together so that I don't have to worry about tearing up my designer series paper to move this. This is going to go right to the edge. You can decide where you want to layer this, but I'm going to put it as close to center as I can be. And I'm going to bring that right to the edge of my cardstock. There we go. Press that down a little bit, and then you can see when I bring it up, we get that fold. But it also means that when we close this, to be careful of that, and think about where you're putting your embellishments on the front so that you don't have it all in the same place. Okay, so the next step is to add these pieces of green. So what I'm going to be doing is just in the center of this, I'm just going to be putting some glue down. The glue is going to hold it nicely. And this way I'm not going to get any adhesive on my designer series paper because I don't want anything to really stick. So I'm going to take these pieces, and I want them to be even. So I want them to be even top to bottom, and I want them to be even, and just watch me press it the wrong way. Let me just get all these things from under it. Okay, so I want it to be center from side to side, and I want it to then be even at the top and the bottom. And the glue is going to ensure that they are attached forever. And it's nice because you have these little stripes and they help you line it up straight as well. And if it wiggles, you still can move it around, make sure it's straight, even, and ready to go. All right, so I'm going to be stamping on one of these that are 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. I'm going to use Old Olive for this, and it is my greeting. And this greeting says, "So grateful to have a friend like you." Hi, Angela. Thanks for joining us. And Lynn, hello too. I don't know if I said hello when you joined. So I'm going to stamp that. And I am going to put this right on that square. In front of this afterwards. Get the whole inside done. So get it centered and even. There we go. I'm going to take one of these and just leave it blank on the first square. And then we're going to decorate the 2 inside squares. All right, so we need 2 of these pumpkins. We're going to need 2 for the front as well. We're going to need this for the front. And we're going to need 2 of these for the front. Okay. So for one of them, I cut out one of the smaller leaves. There we go. So that's what it looks like. And just to remind you what the inside is going to look like, I'm going to use this greenery right under the stem so it looks like those leaves are coming around. And then I'm just going to use the bigger greenery coming down the side there. So I'm going to take this piece of greenery and I'm actually going to put it on before I put on my pumpkin, the stem. Boy, I have to say we've had some pretty beautiful fall days this week. I mean, we got a lot of rain yesterday, but boy, it was nice today. Coming down like that, and then we're going to add the stem. You could use glue dots. They're just pretty small pieces, so that's why I like to use the glue. And we'll put a little glue on the back here. And we're just going to stick this in the middle. And then add this to the centerpiece. So pumpkins on the outside and pumpkins on the inside. You're right, Joyce. Hi, Joyce. Thanks for joining. Joyce was just mentioning the greenery and how it really could be used on a lot of different cards in a lot of different ways, and she is absolutely right on that. So let me just get that little piece out, and what I'm going to do is wrap this around. So I'm only going to put glue on the leaves, just a little bit, because those will all be on the piece of paper to hold it in place. So that's what that piece looks like. And then we're just going to add a pumpkin to it. The pumpkin, of course, is, we're not going to use any dimensionals on these because it's on the inside of the card. But that is okay. We'll use dimension on the front of the card. There we go, and we'll just put a little glue on the back so we can put it over the greenery, and we'll just put it just like that, and then we'll attach this to the last panel for the inside of the card. Okay, so the inside of the card is done. When it, whoops, and it's going to fold like that, and then when it folds closed, it will look like that. Oh my goodness, I just put everything upside down. That's how my day's been going. So we're just going to take these pieces off and turn them. I could use my heat gun to help me get them off, but they haven't been on very long, so that's Okay. This is why when I'm putting something down like this, I don't use liquid glue because I would never be able to get them off. This one might be a little trickier, but I think I can fix it. So we're going to put this one over here. Oh, I'm just going to cut a new one. It's kind of wrinkled, and I don't want it to be wrinkled. Let's see, I think I had some paper left. It's just our blank piece, so it's an easy one to fix. And I just need 2 1/8 by 2 1/8. So how many of you have just done that before? Not paid attention to the direction you're holding your card, and you put the inside all upside down. It is certainly not the first time I've done it. So now we'll just put these in, and let's make sure this one is straight. The recipient, unless they're watching this video, will never know that their card for a few minutes was a hot mess. Okay, now let's see. This is how it's going to stand. This is how it's going to look on the inside. And then there's our outside. So now let's have fun with the outside. So we've got everything stamped. I am going to start with putting my big pumpkin down, because I want that to be kind of the main focal point, but I'm going to be putting the other pumpkins around it. And I can definitely feel that the card is pretty thick right here. It's not going to be thick down here where it's run through the machine. Both the top and bottom aren't thick, but this piece now is, as you can see, is pretty thick when you look at it that way. Okay, thanks, Lynn. I appreciate that mum's the word. All right, I have some dimensionals. We're going to be popping up the little pumpkins. This is such a great set because you can use it in a variety of ways. You can do what I'm doing today and just making a fun fall card, or we could draw a face on here and make it a Halloween set of pumpkins. So there are, as I said, a lot of different ways that you can use these pumpkins. And I really like being able to use them for a nice fall card. Okay, these are just a little too big for that. So we'll just put that down. So our big pumpkin is going to get some adhesive for the big stem. And we're going to just add that stem right there. And then we're going to add our stems to both of the small pumpkins. Just putting just a little bit of adhesive. And here's our other stem. Alright, now we just have to decide how we want to put these on the front. So I was thinking of putting one a little higher than the other one, so more something like that, but I'm going to have this a little bit more over on the side. So put that down a little bit. And then this one, we'll put up a little bit. I have thought about putting them, you know, something like that, but I really want them on either side, I guess. So there we go with our pumpkins. Now for our greeting, I'm going to put the greeting right across the top. I might come under that pumpkin stem a little bit, and I want to put it up on dimensionals. So I am going to just see, so I think if I go right here to here and pull that piece off, it will fit on the back side of this. Yes, it will. Let me just make sure it's straight. There we go. And I wanted to use this sweet. I do have some old olive twine. I'm just opening up a spool of ribbon over here on my cart. But I really want to play on the beautiful gold that's in the designer series paper. And as soon as I can get this open, there we go. I'm going to just cut some of the gold. Going to need to make 2 ribbons, but just this beautiful gold. Oops, and I cut it when I was cutting it. I think I can still use this piece. Just this really beautiful gold ribbon. So it's pretty sheer, and you just really see the beautiful gold. So let's see if this is enough ribbon to get us through this tiny bow. And like I said, I just want a tiny one because I'm going to be putting it right on the big pumpkin. There we go. All right, we'll need a glue dot for that. See which way I want to use it. So let's just grab a glue dot. So we can place this right on the stem, give you an idea how that's building up and looking. And this just brings out the gold in the paper. And then I was looking for some gems that might look really nice on this card. And I didn't want to put more gold. So this time I wanted to really accent the old olive. And these are full glass dots that we used last year. And they were with the autumn, one of the autumn suites. Now let's get that moving upward a little bit. So I think I will put one right there and then take some smaller ones and put over on the side. And that is our finished card. So thankful for the small things. We've got a beautiful front, and then when we open it up, we have the fold on the inside. So grateful to have a friend like you. And then this is going to be a great card to display because when it's open, it's going to look like that. And you'll be able to see all the panels and the back. You have a spot to write your letter in case, obviously, you're not going to have much room unless you're just sending just a quick hello card. But that is our fun fold for this week. So thank you so much for joining me tonight. I will be back Sunday night for the very last Gathering Moments set of cards, and we're doing all fun folds on Friday, so that's exciting. And then, of course, I'll be back next Friday night for another edition of Fun Fold Friday. I hope you have a fabulous weekend, everyone. Good night.